Okay, this is take two. Rhythms of Indivisible Marathon Swim. For some reason, I had a problem with that title.
Oh, good.
The Indivisible Arts is what you're doing this character, this person in the documentary did the 21 mile marathon swim for. What is first off? What is the Indivisible Arts nonprofit community? What is that all about?
Yeah, Indivisible Arts is an incredible nonprofit in Hermosa Beach, California, that is all about teaching consciousness and creativity to young kids. So they offer an after school program for people in the area, and scholarships as well. And they have these amazing classes where kids learn mindfulness, this open free time to really create any kind of art or creative act that they can really think of. It's all under one roof, from music to painting, photography, you name it. And they're all learning, emotional intelligence skills as well, and it really valuable, amazing things to learn at a young age. And so Matthew Biancaniello, who's the swimmer in the film, he did this 21-mile swim and raised over $20,000 to support this nonprofit.
And are you a part of this nonprofit, or did you just come in from an observer point of view?
Yeah, so I've been working on this series of films called Rhythms, which are all about the unseen rituals of inspiring people. And this is the second film in that series. And after doing the first one, which was featured a wonderful friend of mine named Robert Wemischner, who's a pastry chef who bakes this gorgeous bread for donation to a food pantry every week. He actually told me about Matthew's swim as we were in post on that film. And I learned about it. It seemed amazing. I spoke to Matthew. Then I spoke to Rafael McMaster, who's the founder of Indivisible Arts, and it just felt like the perfect story and the perfect next thing to jump in. I no longer live in Hermosa Beach, but I did for years, and so I didn't know that they were there. But I was thrilled to learn about it, and it was just such an inspiring story to be able to document in some way.
And how many of these rhythms films have you made so far?
I've made two so far. So this was the second one, and I'm starting production this upcoming week on the third, which is going to be about a spoken word poet that I've known for many years and the power of voice, kind of especially in today's world.
And so what was your origin story of kind of doing these series for yourself?
Well, I've been doing film things in some ways since I was in high school, and I love filmmaking and documentary storytelling. And for many years, I ran a specialty coffee company. And while I was doing that, I just started thinking about how lovely it would be to start documenting other people's stories and getting into the craft behind something wonderful. I think any craft or art or practice, the unseen elements to me are the ones that are the most interesting and exciting. And so I've been thinking about doing this for a while. And then in the last year, it opened up some time, and I was speaking with a friend I mentioned, Robert, and I knew he was a baker, but I didn't know he was doing everything for donation weekly to this nonprofit called Nourish LA. And so when he told me about that, it just felt like, okay, this is the right time. I have the time. I'd love to start working on this project. And so it's been circulating in my brain for a few years, but it feels great to actually have it be real.
What were you doing before that? You're a filmmaker, like that's your thing, right?
Filmmaker, but
Filmmaking?
yeah, but I took a detour, if you will, into specialty coffee. And so I had a coffee company based out of Culver City, and I had that through from 2013 to 2024. So I was doing filmmaking and creative direction for the company, but also leading the coffee charge. And that's where I met Robert, who was the first subject of this rhythm series, was through that. And and then once I sold that company, I decided to jump 100% back into filmmaking as my focus.
Oh, that's so great. So I'm assuming you got some freedom, I guess, to do what you want to do.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
it was, I mean, the
Without
work
getting
was
into
like,
specifics or getting into the details of your life, I'm just like you
yeah,
got this opportunity and you're going with it.
100%,
That's
100%.
amazing that you're able to do that.
Thank you.
And
It's,
it's kind of funny that you're doing something about inspiring people and you're doing something inspiring because you
oh,
can almost make a film about yourself in a way.
thank you. I appreciate that. That's really lovely to hear. It's so wonderful to talk to people like this and to use the language of cinema to to tell stories like this. And Matthew, who did this swim, 2 years before he did this 21-mile swim, he had a major back surgery and a fusion on L4, L5, and he was a swimmer in high school, and he this was a dream of his from 30 years ago to do this swim, and that he was able to put his mind, his body, his effort into making this a reality was so amazing. And I think it's a great testament to all of us in life. Like we have these ups and downs, and it's how you pick yourself up and move forward and setting goals that I think matters. And I think Matthew's story exemplifies that. And I hope to keep telling stories that showcase that in some way.
Are you, I'm assuming you're on to something, you're on to other films, you're making new films right now?
Yeah, so there's a new film in the Rhythm series that is starting production this week called Speak, which is centers around a spoken word poet, and that I've known for many years. And then I'm working on a feature documentary as well called The Frequency of Jazz, and it's about jazz improvisation, but through the prisms of physics and neuroscience. So it's a little bit more abstract and but still I think really interesting piece. So that's going to be a lot of what I work on for most of this year.
Are all your films around like the 15, 20 minute range?
The rhythm series are is yeah, the frequency of jazz will be a feature
Yeah.
length, probably 80 to 90 minutes.
Oh, really? Okay. So you're moving into features then?
That's the goal. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm starting production very soon on that film. I've been doing research and speaking at prospective interviewees, excuse me, over the last 6 to 8 months. So just been planning and getting ready to tackle this, which is a bigger project, but I'm excited to.
Okay, so what's your game plan for a film like this? Like you obviously you have this kind of it's kind of has a key goal in mind, right? Where like he is doing a swim, is he going to achieve his goal? What's he doing it for?
Yeah,
You have all the elements in place, I guess, right? So do you write a
sure.
script before you start filming? Like what's your process?
No, I mean, I think the thing that's most important to me at first is listening. Like, why is Matthew doing the swim? Like trying to understand who he is, what this is for, trying to understand Indivisible Arts as well as I could the nonprofit that he was doing the swim for. So I did some phone calls with them. I did a meeting over at Indivisible Arts and just tried to get a feel for the space. And I think for these films, it's been a lot more about observation, finding the story as it's happening, and then in the edit really crafting it as a story. I didn't know what the story through line was going to be 100% until I got into the editing bay and I could see all the footage. I do love to write, but I feel like for documentaries, I like to just see, what the footage tells you and hopefully just staying open in the moment. I think I've done things in the past where I've had too much of a plan going in, and then
Yeah.
sometimes you might miss something that is really valuable or wonderful. You might close yourself off to a storytelling possibility that might be right in front of you. So my hope is to just keep listening and being receptive and improvise within a structure.
At the same time, you can't just come in like, hey, I'm just going to do whatever. You have to have some sort of
Sure.
idea, I guess, right? So it's
Yeah.
that balance, I guess, right?
It is. We got very, very lucky because one of the biggest challenges was the swim itself and that it was going to be a nighttime swim. And I was hoping to be on the boats during the actual swim itself.
Yeah.
And long story short, I wasn't able to. I would need special clearances. And then even for shooting, the end of the swim was going to be challenging because it was at this alcove that had no way of getting to the bottom. There was no way for people to come and to witness that. And so, just by sheer chance, one of the people on the kayak support team, Angela Lee, is a documentary filmmaker herself, and I started talking to her, and she was able to shoot the swim portion. So I coordinated with her a lot. I shot before and after. So things like that, of course, you have to plan and do your best. But at a couple moments, it felt like we might not be able to really tell the story in the way that we want to. And then when Angela stepped forward and said, I can help, the film came together.
Because that's key to your film, right? You kind of needed to
Yeah.
show that, right?
yes, it'd be a good conversation otherwise for a podcast or something like that
Yeah.
without being able to see it and seeing it. The scale of it is pretty incredible, and the swim wasn't easy. You know, he'd been training, but he had never done that distance before. And the water conditions were not great. And then just like, I think 5 or so days after he did his swim, there was the first uh, documented shark incident in a while on that someone doing that exact same swim. So it was kind of like a house of cards that just worked out and everything worked out just the way that it needed to for the film to become a reality,
Okay, 20 21 mile swim is unbelievable. That's like
right?
I would compare it to like that's like 80 miles. It's almost like a 70-mile run in a sense. It's like two,
Yeah,
I would say two and a half marathons. That's how much endurance it takes to do that.
it's astonishing. I can't
Yeah.
really wrap my head around it. And, you know, I was so focused on capturing Matthew in the moment and talking to him. And we did an interview afterward, which a lot of his voiceover in the film is from an audio interview that I did after the fact. But it was really after I cut the film that it really sank in, like the gargantuan task that he had,
Yeah.
and he's prepping more, and he wants to do a 26-mile swim next year, and he wants to continue doing work with Indivisible Arts as well. So he's been doing some great work with them, and then after the swim, they announced a scholarship in his name. So hopefully that continues to generate fundraising for them as time goes on.
So these films are for myself personally, I love watching them because I get a lot, especially in environmental films, like I consume a lot of kind of negativity. And
Sure.
if you go online, everything's kind of negative. Let's just
Yeah.
maybe I'm seeing a different world than you are. So
No, I'm seeing the same
basically,
one.
you see like selfishness, it's narcissism, it's about like what can you do for me? I'm gonna vote for that politician because what can they do best for myself? It's like
Right.
this kind of crazy. Maybe we've always been like that because we're a selfish species. But I love
Maybe.
watching these films because it gives me hope. It gives me sort of like it makes me the idealist that I started this business in the first place. Because like people are doing,
I
they
love
don't care
that.
about money, they don't care about all this stuff. They just care about helping people and like helping these kids and kind of doing the best they can in this crazy world that we live in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm doing this in so many ways. I, the world is nuts, and it does feel like um, emotional dysregulation is the way that people get forward in life now in many ways. And I think at the end of the day, we all want similar things underneath all of the layers of hate or fear that people have. You know, we're just people trying to figure it out. And I think making films like this helps me stay connected to that kind of sense of common humanity that we have with each other. And I hope that that becomes more of our world moving forward. And it's a small thing, you know, making a film, but the people that are in these films to me mean a lot to me, and I'm inspired by what they're doing. And I hope that through this and through conversations like this, that we can just have some more hope because it's a beautiful thing and it's an easy thing to lose, but we don't our brains are wired to see the negative things faster because for survival, we have to see the negative to be able to adapt. But I think we forget that there are these amazing people and amazing stories that are happening all around us at all times. And this story was just one of countless. And so I hope we can remember that.
Yeah, 100%. And you like you said you're going to go into doing features. When I was watching this film, I'm like, this could be a feature. Like it's almost like a proof of concept of a feature. I know you're moving on to different things
Yeah,
and that's what you have to do. But getting to know this nonprofit and kind of diving into like what they're doing for kids, that's like a whole film right there.
it's a whole world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do more work with Raphael and with Indivisible. I mean, what they do is so inspiring to me, and I've been working just separately with a friend who's got a startup that's around emotional intelligence, and she's a psychotherapist, and all the stuff that she talks about in her work, um, with primarily focusing on parents and adults. this is what Indivisible Arts is doing for kids at a young age. And there's in the film, there's this wonderful young boy, and he's probably 8 or 9 years old, talking about what resentment really is, and how that can live in your body and feel fresh when something comes up, even when it's not. And the wisdom that these kids are learning, um, the compounding effect of that over time, I think can be huge because we often learn in childhood and adolescence the habits that take us away from that kind of wisdom. And these kids are getting it as part of their everyday, every week. And I think that's a gift.
100%. And then, like, I'm sure a lot of kids get lost in the shuffle, and this is helping these
Yeah.
kids so much, right? So
Yeah.
having that place of security and trust and comfort, it's like, and I'm trying to sound like a cliche, but it's like so valuable for children, right? Like
Yeah.
to be somewhere, right?
I agree. Yeah. And that was the hope in shooting at their nonprofit, was just to show it for what it is, and to see the kids, to, whether it's working with art and discovering something in the moment, or being receptive. And there was a few moments that just yeah, I agree in many ways that this could have been a feature. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't include because I'm telling the story of this swim, and that was like the framework for this story. But there was a beautiful thing that the kids did where they had all these teddy bears that they were holding up, the stuffed animals as like a symbol of past discomfort and things like that. And then they had all the kids breathe in and breathe out their old frustrations and let go of the stuffed animals. And it was this beautiful moment, and it just didn't feel like it needed to be in this film, but there's so much storytelling there, and so many opportunities to show what these kids are living and dealing or going through all the time through this amazing nonprofit. And I hope that through this, more people can become aware of it and support them in their mission, what they're doing.
There's another subtext for me is about like how people have to raise money in like nonprofits where like I'm gonna do this crazy swim for 21 miles. There's gonna be a shark nearby. The waters are freezing and it's like treacherous waters. I don't know what's gonna happen, but we need to raise money. So like
Yeah,
people are not giving us money, so I need to do something this insane thing to get money, right?
right. That's the trip. It's, yeah,
It's kind of
fundraising
crazy.
as a whole thing. And how do you stand out, especially amidst, as you were saying, like all of the madness and the negativity that can occur in our world. Um, yeah, an amazing feat like this is a way to shine a light.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful that Matthew took all of that time and did that, because it's an extraordinary accomplishment to swim that swim, and then to do so, to create awareness for Indivisible Arts is amazing. And I hope, one thing that he says in the film, which I really appreciate, is that it's very important for him to build a repertoire of things for everybody that no one can take away from you. And I think that's what this swim really does. Like, no matter what happens in his life or through Indivisible's journey, like he did this, they raised real money, it's supporting real people, and everybody's moving forward better for it. And that feels rare in terms of the things that we consume, in terms of storytelling in our world right now.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it's almost like they need to do that because it's like everybody's asking for money and nobody has
Yeah,
trust. But it's showing that like look what I'm doing for this organization. So
yeah,
it's like it's giving them context of like I'm doing this for good, right? So
yeah. But it's
yeah.
also like what you're doing too. I mean, like creating a space for filmmakers and independent film to have a conversation, because this is, how do we stand out with the work that we do when there's so many films being made, there's so many things going on. It's about people curating a moment and space for conversation and connection. And so that's appreciated with what you're doing too. I think all of it's a rising tide, right?
Thank you. So you talk more about the your film.
Yeah,
It seems like you're like almost like a one-stop shop in a sense. I know you got the help for
sure.
the person helping you with the swim, but it's like looking at the credits, it seems like you're kind of doing this on your own right now.
Yeah, I mean, part of that was a couple things. I mean, one, I think a person and a camera. in a way to record sound. Like you can do a lot.
Yeah.
Um, I also, these are self-funded films, and I also only have so much budget to do it. So I want to be very mindful of it, and it becomes a personal thing. I love collaboration, and I think the people that are in the films become collaborators. But for the most part, I'm shooting, I'm cutting, I'm doing everything myself for this series, and I love it. I've done all of the jobs in the film world that I'm doing for each film. So I'm familiar with all the technical requirements, but
Yeah.
yeah, it becomes this wonderful through point in life for a few months to be working on something or longer, depending what the film is. And I have other things where I'm working with people that where it has to go through approval of things, and this is just one avenue to just make something that means something to me.
So you do this, you do the sound as well. You do the sound design as well.
Yes.
So you're doing everything.
As much as I can. Yeah. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
looking for the feature doc that I'm doing. Will require other camera operators
Yeah.
and some more collaborators. Um, but for the most part, I think, especially today, I mean, the camera qualities of what is available out there, I mean, even just something as like editing on hard drives. I mean, 20 years ago, I was cutting and I would have to take this like massive hard drive with me if I had to go
Mhm.
somewhere and, big old power cords. And, you can have a laptop and a Samsung hard drive that just uses the power source from the computer. So that's my cat in the
I was gonna
background
say that it
again.
looks like, from my point of view, it looks like two people are fighting. It's like
Yeah,
looks like two kids are fighting.
well, kind of. They're
Yeah.
a year and a half old. First, I'm not sure what happened to my Zoom camera here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, so it's the opportunity to do more with less is amazing. And so what can we do with that as we move forward?
Yeah, don't worry, they're still fighting. It's just funny. It's like because
Hey, dude.
you're out of people are listening to this on audio. There's like you're out of focus, so you can't really see. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Is it one
So
cat or two cats?
there's two, but
Yeah.
you saw him in both shots because there's a mirror right there
Oh,
on the
gotcha. And so
closet.
okay, that's
And he's, saying hello
I
to
was yeah.
himself because
I was
we're
about to tell
all,
you. I think your children are having having a fight in the background, but yeah.
yeah, well, as close as I'll get to children at this moment. But yeah, sorry about
Okay,
the
so
interruption
so
there.
then so you kind of like have this kind of plan of attack, and you cut like you said you have the experience and you have the know-how, and you're kind of just like producing. And now you didn't as soon as you're done because this one's pretty quick, right? Because you're saying on the blog interview that you kind of did it in 4 months, right? You did the
Yeah,
you knew what the race was, so you kind of had a focal point where like you knew when the race
yeah,
was. You kind of finished it within a few weeks after, right?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I had the time, and I also, from when I started that coffee business, I developed a really good habit of having insomnia. So, I love working at nighttime, and
Because of
so
the
I ended up
coffee or because of the business or both?
probably both. Um, but yeah, I think I really to me I feel really clear at night, so I ended up doing a lot of whether it's writing or for other things or for editing and post things. I do a lot of my stuff, at 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So I was able to, I think, truncate the production schedule a little bit by that, which won't be the case in all scenarios. But I mean, I think part of it too is just listening to what feels right for the story. When I sat down, I do audio interviews for the subjects of the film because I don't want to have on-camera interviews for this series, just because I want to show more than tell. And
Yeah.
when I did the audio interview with Rafael from Indivisible Arts, I had a microphone, he just started talking, and then one of the very first things he said was that, in this crazy world that we have to try to find, a signal within the noise. And that was so beautiful, and it spoke to the whole ethos of this whole film.
Yeah.
And so I knew at that moment that that was probably going to be what opened the film. Um, and so, while you're shooting it, these things come to mind. It's helpful when you're shooting your own material because oh, I know where that might go. I can start to place that. It's obviously different when you're working with footage somebody else shot or if somebody else is cutting what you shot. So I had a leg up in that way for time
So you do the
purposes.
you do like so that's your style that you kind of found your kind of documentary grammar, so to speak. which I
Sure.
find fascinating. So you're doing the audio interview first before you start shooting?
It depends on the context. So
Okay.
I did two audio interviews for this film, and for Raphael with Indivisible, I did his first because I really wanted to understand kind of the interiority of
What
what it is to run this nonprofit, what they're
yeah.
about, and then from there I could go, okay, I took that, I listened to it a few times, I digested it, and then when I went to go shoot, I had that in my mind as you know, a script, if you will, or a story, if you will, of what to shoot. Whereas with Matthew, um, I wanted to speak to him after the swim. So I wanted to see, you know, what he was feeling, and I spoke to him. I did his audio interview 3 or 4 days after, I think 3 days after the swim was done. So he was still processing and still feeling it, but had enough distance to be able to speak about it in both that kind of interior way, but
Mhm.
also with some perspective. And so it just depends on
Yeah.
the subject. This upcoming one I'm doing, which is going to be a little bit more interior focused. We're starting with the audio interview, so it just depends on the subject and the context.
No, but I guess what I wanted to talk about is that
Yes,
the
please.
doing the audio interviews, which you did the one for this
Yeah.
film, and then you're doing the other one, is helping you become a better cinematographer in many ways because
Yeah.
you've already kind of have the narrative in in your head, I guess, right? So then when you're
Yes.
shooting, you're kind of like, oh, okay, that kind of thematically
This
relates to
fits.
what he was saying, and etc. I guess, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that can be really helpful. And I like that way of working. And then I don't like the idea of thinking of things like B-roll. So, um, especially if I'm not doing talking head interviews, everything is a role, if you will. So,
Yeah,
um, and then it becomes like, what's the shot? Can I find the shot that tells the story? Or discover something else that, you know, needs to exist on its own, but could be set up by that audio interview and what that brought to the fore. Yeah, it works for me. And I also, you know, I think I love documentary storytelling, and but I don't want to pretend that it's objective storytelling. I have my own biases and
yeah.
subjective perceptions, and as do the people that are in the films. So I will try to present it as objectively as I can, but also with intention as subjectively as I can through their individual points of view.
Yeah, 100%. It's like I kind of almost call this film like almost like a tribute film in a sense, where like
Yeah,
you're doing this tribute story for this guy. Like you're not, you know what I mean? This is like it's pretty hard to like be negative about anything he's doing, right?
yeah,
Nonprofit, swimming for charity. Like it's like pretty,
yeah. It's not an expose or
yeah,
so yeah, and I think all of and I love documentary films like that. I also feel like they're so prevalent in terms of what's out there that I'm much more, and maybe it's also I'm cutting myself off, but I think it might also just be the time that we're living in too. I I don't feel as drawn to shape those kinds of stories right now. This is a way, I mean, in a way, it's sort of an escape to be able to focus on, you know, really beautiful stories and people doing
yeah.
amazing work for me. And I hope that if I feel that way, I hope that when someone else sees the film, that they feel that way too. And that feels better right now for me.
So we'll have a link on your website, but you can go to your website, frequency dot cool. Is it dot cool, right?
That cool. Yeah,
And then you got your two films on your website that people can just watch, right? That's your kind of point now, right? Like you're not,
correct.
yeah, just get it out there, just let people watch it, and then money will come later, I guess.
Yes, it's yeah, this is not I'm not thinking about the bottom line for this
Yeah,
series of films for sure. I mean hopefully as people see them, and we what we want to do after at least the next one is done is do some things like some public screenings and where we're showing a few of the films at one time. So there might be opportunities to bring our community together, but
yeah,
this is more community minded than profit minded. I mean, obviously I have to make money doing something at some point, but
sure.
not for this series.
So the two films have, besides kind of the inspiration, but they have food, I guess, as like as a
Sure.
kind of like background. So I'm assuming I guess you worked in the like coffee, you said you worked coffee, so kind of, I'm
Yeah,
assuming you're immersed in this world. You kind of know a lot of people who are chefs and
I
cooks
do.
and yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it was a huge chapter of my life in terms of my day to day. And I got into to coffee, into the food world while working in post production. And uh, when I was a teen, and then 18, 19 years old, I took a part-time job at a coffee shop. And I just loved that I could make something and share something with someone right away and and change their day for the better. And I learned to love hospitality pretty quickly. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing in some ways with filmmaking. There's a lot of correlative things. Just at the time, I was hoping for more immediate feedback on the work that I was getting, and I wasn't getting it. So coffee and food and pastry, those kinds of things, enabling me to make something that someone could enjoy right then and there, which was great. But yeah, the I like craft. I like people that get into something and get obsessed with it and want to learn everything about it in some way. And I feel I did that myself with my coffee journey. And so now coming back to filmmaking full time, uh, I think that has 100% influenced the work that I do, as well as the people that I'm talking to, because my network is very different than it was,
Yeah.
um, 16, 17 years ago.
So like I'm sure you've been asked this before, but are you like a coffee aficionado? Like still?
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, I did well in that world, and I had a roasting company and a couple of patents on a brewing method, and so it was a whole deep dive. I still loved doing the film and the creative work inside that space,
Yeah.
um, but it so I got my coffee right now here as well. So
Yeah.
it's ever present in life, but not as full of a focus as it used to be.
No, I remember reading I'm assuming you read it or even probably met Howard Schultz, but I remember reading the book
I haven't met
about.
him. No, yeah,
Oh, you never met? Okay. So I remember reading the book about Starbucks guy
yeah,
and
of
about
course,
like
I know
going
him.
and
Yeah,
doing deep dive about like the obsessiveness of like these coffee people, like about like the roasting and the dark and like the light and like they were so obsessed with like the best coffee and it wasn't like I kind of love that in a way because it wasn't about money. It wasn't like I'm sure it happens eventually. It kind of reminded
sure.
me of like speaking of Seattle, like it reminded me of like the early days of computers where they were just
Yeah.
like these tech guys and they just like loved it so much and then all of a sudden all became millionaires, but they didn't really get
Yeah.
into it that way, right?
Yeah, it's exactly like that, except none of us became millionaires, who were
Except for
obsessed
Schultz,
with it,
yeah, yeah,
except for Schultz, right? Yeah, I mean it especially coffee in Los Angeles too went through a really cool period around when I was getting into it. Um, till maybe about 2016, 2017, it all started to shift a little bit with a lot more VC money coming in and the environment and the landscape changing, but it was very small, and everybody knew everybody, including in other cities. And it was like this tiny little movement of things that a lot of those people are now moved on to other things and aren't in the coffee world anymore, or they're in different positions. But it's a beautiful thing. It's what I love about it. It actually it reminds me a lot of post production because it's a lot of very fine little details and you're making one shift here, one shift here,
yeah.
when you're dialing in a coffee or a roast of coffee. And you kind of find the meditative nature of the tedium, which is post-production to me as well. So I feel like it's a really cool world and people that dig film would probably dig that world too.
Yeah, 100. Well, but at the same time, the evolution, because like this is, I'm just talking to like, obviously this, but
Yeah,
like people used to drink folders on the stove, right? Just to get a lot.
sure.
And then it became this mainstream thing that like we didn't have coffee shops like, 30 years ago on every corner, right? So like it just
Yeah,
became
it's
this
wild.
huge thing, right? Like that people kind of got obsessed with, maybe addicted. You can argue that too, right? So
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have no qualms to say that I'm
Yeah.
addicted to coffee.
It's better
Yeah,
than drugs. Well,
it's
it is a certain drug, but it's better than
it
hard
is
drugs.
yeah,
But yeah, yeah,
it's the world's most legal and wonderful psychoactive drug.
yeah,
It's great. I mean, coffee houses for centuries have been the place where artists and people who are political revolutionaries and people like
yeah,
that have come together um, and created new contexts through enjoying a beverage together. And that's a whole beautiful world unto itself. And that was the shop that I had in Culver City was it's a shop like that. I mean, people, it was architects and chefs and just designers and post-production people and regular day-to-day people living in the neighborhood too, of course. But it was a really cool confluence of creative energy all the time. And while I wasn't doing the film stuff day to day at that time, it was still filling some of that cup for me because
mhm,
I was just getting to be in that kind of cool world every day,
yeah,
which was beautiful, and feel super, super grateful for that.
yeah. And then it showed up on Friends, and it showed up on Frasier, and then it
Yeah,
just like you know what I mean. It became this mainstream thing, right? Like we're gonna
there's really
meet
good
and
coffee
talk about
everywhere now.
life, right?
Yeah, it's a beautiful
Yeah, no,
thing,
it's
right?
great. I love it. Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations on the film. I love to see. I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
watch your other one. I see it already online, and then I'm looking forward to seeing your next film. We could talk again about it.
I would look forward to that. Thank you, Matthew, for your time and really good speaking with you and looking forward to talking to you again in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure.